Would you take Lewis Miller, not including his recent performances, Lewis Miller earlier this season, or David Gray now, even after he's retired at right back?
David Gray.
Well, even now?
I think he could just do a job, just not run, but just be like okay on the ball, and he's like just walk about positionally.
The opposite of Lewis Miller.
Yeah, exactly.
Hi everyone, and welcome along to the Salt and Sauce podcast. A big episode this week, our second episode of the week. Obviously, usual plan is in place in terms of looking back at the games that were taking place on Wednesday night. But we're also going to look ahead to the games this weekend, and it's the same game this weekend. We've got the Hearts Hibs Edinburgh derby coming up on Sunday, and it's Robert's off camera just now pointing his Hibs badge towards the screen. It's as big a derby as there's been in a long time, a long time. So we'll look ahead to that. But we've also got a surprise halfway through. We've got a special guest, a Hibs supporting son of a Hearts legend. So looking forward to getting a few questions in and maybe a few digs in as well, because he has a Hibby. Robert, how are you? How are you feeling?
I'm brilliant. I'm absolutely buzzing with the last two results. So bring on the Jambos on Sunday.
No, fair enough. Yeah, I can see why. I suppose we might as well get those games out the way, because as buzzing as we both are with Wednesday's results, it's probably not been the main focus. So I'll jump in quickly. We both had the exact same outcome though. Both went 1-0 down. Both turned it around to win 3-1 against opponents that, let's be honest, we could easily have lost to. And 3 or 4 months ago, had we gone 1-0 down, we both would have lost, I think it's fair to say. So Hearts, yeah, obviously St Mirren at Tynecastle, I thought it was going to be 2-0, it ended up being 3-1 instead. Although we went 1-0 down, and although St Mirren were the better team in the first half, still felt quite comfortable to bang in 3 goals, even after the setback of going 1-0 down. For me, I'm pretty happy with. I work Wednesday night, so I was catching up on the highlights today, watched them a few times, and St Mirren looked good value for their lead. There was an element of luck to their goal in that we've blocked a shot and it's fallen right at Mandron's feet, and he's not a bad player, Mandron. He puts the ball away. But then, yeah, second half we came out. In saying that, we also got a lot of luck with our first goal, the equaliser. I think it's Taylor, their defender, has an absolute horror show at the back, and it lands right at James Wilson's feet. But what I really liked about Wilson's goal was that although the fact he's 17 years old, he was so calm. Just took a touch and just outside of the foot passed it into the corner. Really, really nice. Nieuwenhof's got the second. He scored against St Mirren a few weeks ago in the Cup. His goal was lovely. Outside of the box, he did a wee Cruyff turn. And then curled it in off the post. That was a lovely finish from a guy who, admittedly, I really liked him. I didn't think his sort of technical ability, I don't think that's his main attribute, but actually that was a lovely, well taken goal. And then we wrapped it up at the end with Vargas with what was a really nice move. Grant into Shankland, back to Grant, and then he just cut it back to Vargas. And the third VAR check of the game. It seems like they're desperate to rule out a Hearts goal, but no, we managed to survive them all. The one thing I will say on VAR before I hand over to yourself, Robert, for the Dundee United game is, I don't know, did you see the St Mirren red card that was then overturned?
Yes.
Well, out of interest, I'm a Hearts fan, obviously, so I'm biased. Yeah. What's your thoughts?
A straight red.
Yeah.
He's literally, like, I know we said you have to lead with like your arm to get yourself off the ground, but he's actually like poleaxed them with his arm.
Yeah.
It's a natural position for me. So I honestly can't believe that's been overturned, because that could have broke his jaw.
Oh, it could be a shocker. That could be a really bad injury. Unfortunately, McCart's all right, but he was trying to claim he caught him with his shoulder or whatever. But no, it's a horrendous challenge. And what I don't get about it is you can see how much he's looking at McCart the whole time.
Yeah.
And all right, he actually apologetic after, but bearing in mind, this is just, I think can't remember if that was at 1-1 or 2-1, but either way, they're a bit frustrated at having been 1-0 up and lost their lead. You can see why you would do it. It was an absolute shocker, and I thought, am I just being, maroon glasses on here?
No.
What I don't get is how the ref can say that's clear and obviously not a red card.
I just don't understand. I don't understand how that's not a red card.
When you consider some of the reds that you've seen, and
Yeah,
I know it was 2 yellows that your man got sent off for the other week,
but
but
even that, oh,
I mean it's so much less dangerous than what I actually forget who it was. Was it Kilty? What he did last night? It was just awful. So that's for me the one annoyance. I read a lot of people on Twitter getting really angry at the ref, saying that it was just one of the worst ref displays they've ever seen. Now, based on that, I'd agree. Maybe needed to watch the whole game to get more of an idea on that. But what the one thing I don't get, I suppose, is all these VAR checks for all of our goals. Now, one, they all stood in the end, but two, that's VAR, not the ref. So I don't quite get what the complaint is with that. But I'm sure there probably was more to it. But that the red card thing is absolutely crazy. So, but thankfully everyone's all right, and we got the 3 points, big 3 points, takes us over St Mirren, above St Mirren, takes us into the top six, and sets us up nicely for Sunday. But before we get to that, you had definitely the harder of the two fixtures away to Dundee United.
yeah. So we were talking about it, and I backed Hibs to win. I think you backed a draw, and I was thinking as the game was going along, it was like maybe Stuart might be right, or it had one of those. It had kind of the feeling of like a Dundee United winner coming, because Hibs we didn't play very well, to be honest. What we did do is we answered them 15 minutes after they kind of went ahead, so it was just an awful goal for us to concede, really, again. Miller gave it away, and we end up 1-0 down a few seconds later. And then it took a deflection, but Miller like just played a blind pass on the halfway line when we were comfortable. It's taken a deflection and into Smith. Iredale didn't get close enough to their player, and it's a deflection and it's in, right, okay. We then, it's almost like that woke us up then. We started playing well for a bit, lots of corners, lots of pressure, Nicky Cadden whipping balls in, and then it turns out Cadden puts in the corner. Again, excellent delivery right on Kukurevic's head, and he gets a goal. And I was surprised to see him start, actually, because he's not been great, but that goal will do him the world of good, because it was a well-taken goal, awful defensively from Dundee United.
Yeah.
But, we'll take that. We'll absolutely take it. So that was us back in the game at 1-1. And then it was just kind of an awful game then. It just turned scrappy. Both teams giving it away. Nothing really happening. And then obviously, second half then, there's the controversial Dalby goal that was and then wasn't given by VAR.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, because that happened I think it was 1-1 when that happened.
Yeah.
Put it this way, and I guess to maybe get your most honest reaction, if that was the Hibs goal getting disallowed, how would you feel?
So I've seen it a few times, and like I said to my dad, there's nothing wrong with that goal. I couldn't see anything wrong with it from the angles that obviously I could see. But I have seen an angle since then where you actually see it hit off his arm and go in. The trajectory of the ball has changed and it goes in. So actually, it is no matter if it's accidental or not, you can't score with your arm. So it's very, very harsh. And look, I'm not saying I'd be delighted, but they had a shocker for us at the start of the season where they equalised and took points off us. So that's it square, because if they want to gripe about it, and look, I probably wouldn't be too happy about it, but the reality is it looks like it's hit his arm. If you watch someone had a great angle on Twitter, and it looks like he just heads it, but then you see it again, and it just like he heads it down almost to his arm like that, and it ends up in. So yeah,
I did hear that. The one thing that I then heard, and I think it was a Dundee United fan, that we've said he's then hit it off the sleeve of his arm, which is the bit.
We're not doing sleeves.
No, I know. No, but that is the rule, and maybe I'm being obviously a bit of a Hearts fan about it. But I suppose the point, and you've admitted it yourself, if it was against Hibs, you'd be displeased.
Yeah, look, it was a harsh one. It was a harsh one.
But then the other side of that is well, I suppose you can call it luck or the right decision, but when your luck's in, your luck's in, and I
Absolutely.
suppose there is two alternative realities where the Celtic goal gets given at the weekend, and that Dundee United goal gets given.
Yeah, but then, in the same token, I could go back to when we were on that terrible run and we had, that Dundee United call. We had an awful foul on the keeper at Ross County that robbed us of 3 points,
Yeah,
amongst others. So if that's evening up, as everyone always says, then that's it.
yeah, no, fair enough, and every club gets their bad luck, gets their good luck, and whether you call it good luck or evening up or whatever,
Yeah,
but you've had a couple of calls that could have gone the other way, but
favourable, and
possibly both right as well. So
yeah, yeah, exactly. What I would say again, we were talking about the technology and things. It's not quite there to make these calls like where they can't be disputed. Do you know what I mean? So that's back to the VAR kind of from the previous podcast.
Yeah.
That's something that's required, as well as I said, I think kind of better referees behind the scene.
Not to dwell on it too long, but I suppose the last thing I would say, and this is obviously somebody who would have wanted a draw probably in that game. I don't think it's clear and obvious that it's a disallowed goal, in my opinion. But
Yeah.
again, I am biased.
Yeah. So look, that was one that it got back to 1-1, and then we started to make changes. In we brought on Gale, Bowie, and Obita, and we looked like a different team then. Bowie was putting himself about like what he did against Celtic. He's such an intelligent player because he can hold it up. He's big, he's strong, he can come short, and he can spin you as well. And his movement's fantastic. And in front of goal, it was absolutely deadly. Triantis again with a lovely, lovely, lovely pass through for the assist. And it looks like he kind of was falling down, and he just gets so much power on it in the top corner. And that's in the 90th minute. So
yeah,
pandemonium. It was pandemonium in my sitting room.
Yeah, I was going to say.
So that was 2-1. But then you're still thinking, there's going to be a lot of stoppage time because of the VAR calls. And then, we wrap it up, cherry on top. Junior Hoylett, QPR legend. But did I not used to play him on FIFA sometimes?
Yeah, no, you liked him. You did like him.
Yeah, no, he was always really good in FIFA back in the day. But anyway, he scored one of those goals. He scored a little chip goal.
It was nice.
Which was nice. So,
not before the keeper nearly chucked you under the bus.
Yeah, which one was that?
He fumbled the free kick.
Oh yeah. Oh,
I bet that was a moment.
Well, thankfully there was no striker there, because that's a goal, and actually he would have been at fault for the Dalby goal as well. So we just need to be careful there.
So is it fair to say you're not fully convinced of Smith?
I'm not. No. I've said that. I've said, as much as he's doing well, he's made great saves, and he's better than Burisic. Next season, we need a new number one, an established number one that's not going to make those mistakes. So that's just a fact. So we go up the other end 3-1, and great scenes at the end, and the run continues. And when you're not playing particularly well, you go to Tannadice, the run they're on. They were desperate, I think, just to not lose that game, Dundee United. But the way it played out, it was just so satisfying. It was so nice to win. Bowie getting a goal as well. And look, like Hearts, we are more than looking forward to Sunday.
Yeah, and I suppose to be fair as well, because I suppose the two things I've picked up on mainly from the Hibs game is the disallowed goal for Dundee United and the keeper fumbling it, but to give Hibs credit in particular, I thought the winning goal, the second goal, was a brilliant goal.
Yeah,
Trantis's pass is lovely. It actually comes to him. He plays it really quickly rather than taking a touch.
Yeah,
the weight and direction of it is perfect. I probably enjoyed that more than the goal, although the finish was brilliant as well. Obviously, at the top bin, and what. I mean, you would take any goal in the 90th minute to win 2-1, but or to put yourself 2-1 up. But when you get a goal like that, that's class. So no, fair dues, and I suppose overall deserved.
Deserved. I would say we tried to play the better football. I think
Right.
Dundee United were just hammering the ball. They were very, very like they were the home side, and you'd think they'd take the game to Hibs, to open up a gap. But Goodwin was just trying not to lose the game, which made for a pretty poor game, to be honest. It didn't open up until like that. Hibs scored. Hibs kind of equalised. Then the game kind of came to life a bit. Which, look, it might be understandable. Maybe there was tension and it was a high pressure game. But I was just so glad, like we didn't just take the draw as well. So Gray and the Hibs players and things, they deserve great credit because we could have just said, you know what, 1-1, not bad before the derby, 4 points in those two games against Celtic, and we didn't lose. No, he was going for the win. Gray and the subs, when they came on, they changed the game completely. Hoylett was really good. Bowie was exceptional. Even for his cameo, he's probably man of the match. And Obita, when he came on as well, really, really good. He was wanting the ball. He was making runs. He was getting crosses in. He was overlapping. So obviously, Gray. The message from Gray was go out and win the game. We're not sitting back here. And I would probably say, yeah, we did deserve it. 3-1 is very generous, but 2-1,
Yeah.
2-1.
That happens when the other team's pushing for an equaliser, I guess. So, right. Well, listen, we'll put that to bed. Obviously, two great victories. Both delighted, coming from behind as well. We'll cut to the interview, which we'll introduce them in a second. Before we do that, though, just a quick shout out for our sponsors, as always. We've got Mintbox Removals supporting us, a removals company based out of Edinburgh, but working nationwide, obviously, and I'm sure further afield as well. So anyone moving house soon, do give them a shout. And Robert, our other sponsor,
AW Decor. So they're painting and decorating. Cover Edinburgh, Lothians, Fife. Really good guys. So if you need any painting or decorating, you can get in touch with them, and the details are on the screen.
Right, so we'll jump in now to the interview.
Okay, so welcome along to this exclusive interview. A bit of a scoop for us on Salt and Sauce podcast. It's my pleasure to introduce Hearts legend, John Robertson's son, who happens to be none other than a Hibs fan, Scot Robertson. Scot, welcome to the podcast.
Hey boys, nice to see you.
But Scott, just a casual Hibs fan, not really that into it.
No, die hard.
So
season ticket holder until my work got in the way of that.
That's it. And we've been on a few away days together as well. So, look, what we'll do is we'll both just ask you a couple of questions, and then we'll look forward to the Hibs win on Sunday that's coming. So, Scott, what's your best memory of being a Hibs fan?
Obvious one that always springs to everyone's mind is winning the Scottish Cup. Obviously, getting me on the pitch, running about like mad. It was a brilliant one. I like to wind my dad up the fact that he was an unused sub when he won the Scottish Cup, so I actually spent more time in the pitch than he did. So that's always a fun one. But that's the main one. I still remember our first cup when I was alive, the 2007 League Cup, and I think that was special for another way. I spent that with my Uncle George, my dad's brother. He's a big Hibs fan. And I think that being the first sort of major experience was winning something and then being there was one that will always crop up. It's not always just the Scottish Cup.
Yeah.
And good on you, Rob. Well, I like that, mate. And I'll bring the tone down a little bit as a Hearts fan and ask you what's the worst memory you've got as a Hibs fan?
The worst one was obviously the 5-1 Cup final. As both my brothers, little sister, mum are all Hearts fans. So as a family, we got a table for the Scottish Cup final. So not only did I have to watch it, I had to stay behind and watch the trophy ceremony because I was getting a taxi home with my family. So I had to sit and endure the entire thing.
So that sounds like a nightmare because obviously I know Mark and Liam, and they're not exactly two quiet boys that are going to keep their mouth shut.
No, they made sure to let me know. So yeah, that's definitely the worst one.
That sounds like the stuff of nightmares, Scott.
Oh yeah, it wasn't great, especially when you're going at the big end the whole time.
So I guess what, and I don't think I've ever actually asked you this. How on earth did you end up supporting Hibs with who your dad was?
So the story behind it is obviously my dad was still playing as I was growing up, so he was still towards the twilight years at Hearts, and then before he went to Livingston, so he was always away at the weekends, and my mum was working. So my loving uncle George, my dad's brother, who's also a diehard Hibs fan, was offered to take me at the weekends. So he then started taking Easter Road. Not too much for my dad's happiness, but once he took me the first couple of times, that was it. And I think also just to be a bit different. I've never been one, my close sense for personality. I've never been one to follow the trends. So I think just to be a bit different. My dad says black, I'll say white. Just be a bit.
I think that's nice, though, that like it's not just to go against your dad. There's an emotional connection there that there was a family member that actually took you to Easter Road, and then that kind of started it as well.
Yeah, my Uncle George, he couldn't wait to get his hands on me. He never managed to get my brother, so I think as soon as he seen the babysitting duties and realised that he could get me going, he couldn't wait to buy me my first Hibs shirt with Robert 9 on the back.
Brilliant.
Get a new recruiting. No, fair enough, Robo. We'll get a score prediction, but I've just one last question for you. Is I suppose was there ever a chance you were going to be a Hearts fan, or over the years have you ever thought, I wish I'd picked Hearts?
No. So there was a point when I was 10, 12 where my mum bought us all season tickets for Tynecastle, and I would go Mark and Liam. And after about 3 games, I started feigning sickness every Saturday, feigning excuses to not go. It was never for me. I always preferred Easter Road. Never liked the colour maroon. So it was always green and white for me. Big tricolour in the bedroom. It was never going to be that way. But there's photos of me as a child in Hearts kits, and on my dad's. I think it's the Ace of Hearts video. You see a young Scot kicking about in a full Hearts kit, and even then, I don't really. I get asked a couple of questions, and I just start off and a half, probably because I'm in the Hearts kit.
Yeah. It doesn't suit you.
No, never did.
I think for the viewers, we're going to share a few photos when this goes out that shows you in both colours. One when you had a choice, and then one later when you were an adult, when obviously you chose the good guys.
But it is mental, Scott, growing up like that. Obviously, there doesn't come a bigger Jambo legend really than John Robertson.
It's a bit funny, like some of the grown men that get really, really upset by a young child wearing Robo 9 in the back of a Hibs top. From both sets of fans, I've had Hibs fans spitting at me. I've had Hearts fans going mental. How could God's son be a Hibs fan? And I'm like, you're a 50-year-old man. And you're still calling a footballer God. So it's probably helped me growing up. We get a bit of a sense of humour. So I always have to deal with little snarky comments here and there, but I've always just laughed off. It's a bit of banter.
Yeah. Well, good on you, mate. Perfect man for this podcast, because that's what it's all about. Is that obviously, I know how desperate you are to win on Sunday. I'm absolutely choking on a win on Sunday as well. But
I think it's a big one for Hibs mentality-wise. We've always, if you ever wanted at least, this is probably the worst game coming for Hibs, because whenever we're on a good run, whenever it looks like we're building some momentum, Hearts always seem to come along, whether they're relegation candidates or whether they're flying. Hearts come along and take the train off the track. So I think this mentality-wise, because the last few weeks we've shown a bit more, and sort of run David Gray's got going. And David Gray's record as a manager and player against Hearts isn't actually bad.
Right.
So I think mentality-wise, this is huge for Hibs. If we can take a result, then it's a leap forward, and I think we'll go finish third if we get a result.
Yeah.
If we lose, then it could shake the wheels just coming into the last few weeks. But just have to wait and see.
And that's I think if you win this, you'd be hard pushed to pick someone else to finish third, given the way Aberdeen and Dundee United are going, and it would just widen that gap with us. So I guess on that note, Rob, you're obviously, I know what you want to win, what you want to happen. What do you think will happen?
I think with both teams being a bit shaky defensively, but banging goals in both ends, it's going to be 2-2.
And that's good, actually. A good family prediction there, sitting on the fence. Good on
I
you.
was going to go 4-2 Hibs, but then I thought I'll be honest. I'll say 2-2. Yeah, definitely 2-2.
Robbo, good on you, man. We've got Robert's picked the Hibs when I went for a Hearts win, so good to get a bit of balance on the show.
There we go.
Well, Robbo, thanks very much for coming on the podcast, mate, and giving up time. So thanks very much.
No problem, guys. Thank
Cheers,
you.
All right, folks, welcome back. Let's get to the main event, the Edinburgh Derby, coming up on Sunday. The way we're going to look at this is, I guess we'll both give our thoughts on how either team might win the game. Before we do that, Robert, I wanted to ask you a question. Who do you think the bookies have down as favourites?
Hibs.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Just. And I mean just, as I'm sure you can understand why it's very close, but it's home advantage, I guess.
No, there should be overwhelming odds for Hibs.
Yeah, odds on.
No, I understand why it's close, but I just think the fact that Hibs are at home would edge it. Yeah.
And you're above us in the league, obviously, and look at stuff like that. Anyway, listen. So I'll start off with Fantasyland of how Hibs might win this game. And I say Fantasyland because Hearts have got more Easter robed derby wins than Hibs. That's a nice wee stat for you there. How Hibs might win the game. For me, it would come from your forwards rather than a sort of solid defensive display. Because as I'll come on to, I think we've got enough to cause you a bit of problems at the back. But I think I'll look at, say, Boyle's pace, for example. I've always, Boyce, I get that he scored quite a few goals in that. I've never quite seen it, and again, that's maybe because I'm biased in terms of being a brilliant player or anything. But he is effective, and he can get defenses turning, and he can stretch you. So I could see him having a big impact. I think Triantis has got a bit of quality on the ball. As we spoke about with the Dundee United game, he can find people. If Bowie's starting to find his feet, he's obviously someone that you were missing for a long time when he was injured. And I suppose it's probably not massively surprising that you're doing better now that he's back, and you were doing really, really poor without him. If Kukurevich is okay, fine, it's one goal, but I mean, again, if that's him getting a little bit of confidence. What we then have at the back is a new centre-half pairing, Steinwender and McCart. And yeah, look, they both look all right. But against a forward line that can move around that much, and you've got Bow's strength, you've got Boyle's pace, they could really mix it up. So I think we're quite weak at right back. Forrester's quite young. Taylor is, I still don't know. He's got all the attributes, but I don't know. I don't know what his mental state is like at times. So yeah, no, the way the Hibs will win it would be with a forward line that has a good game, I think, rather than necessarily a solid base that builds from there. That said, you have been better at the back. I suppose that leaves us the only other thing that comes to my mind as well is actually how you beat us last time, and that was your wide players. With Nicky Cadden in particular, his delivery has been really, really good, and I actually think he'll beat as a good player, even if they swap or whatever. So listen, I get it. There's times I've gone into Edinburgh derbies and I've tried to remove the emotion and thought, right, 11v11, can we lose this game? And obviously the answer is always technically yes, but sometimes I've just thought, no danger, we're better than them, and I'm sure even Hibs fans would agree to that. This one, I can absolutely see how Hibs could get a result. Offsetting that, how do I think Hearts could get a result? Well, I suppose obviously part of our game is how do we stop that happening? I look at Boyle up against Penrice, and that's who I'd want him up against. Our player of the season so far, lots of energy, will be able to keep up with the pace. I would hope. I would look at, say, Trent is in the middle, getting on the ball. I don't think there's many better than Beningame and Devlin. You've got Beninghame's calm and composure. Devlin's just high energy, putting in tackles, and he's been brilliant since Critchley's come in. So if depending on who's playing, and I'd even put Neuenhoff in that category, he can put himself about a bit as well. I think we could have that stronger midfield then at that point. Even though I do rate Triantis, I think we can then nullify him, and then that leaves us with Kabangu, who's been scoring goals. Shankland, who by the way, we're playing much better. He's still not scoring goals. He scored one against Dundee, but he's not really been scoring. He has been setting them up, and he has been linking up play really, really nicely. So I think if we can stop your threats and get our men on the ball instead, for me the two teams are actually quite similar in many ways, and I guess it's whoever's players turn up on the day. I can genuinely see that Hearts doing everything I just said Hibs might do equally as likely. And I dare say the one player I think out of all 22 that would be on the pitch that if he has a good game could really win it for their team is Shankland, because he is a clever player, and he is, I don't know, you maybe disagree, I think he's the best player on the pitch on his day. So for me it's all about form on the day. I'll come with my predictions later because I want to hear a little bit about what you think about the game. How would Hibs win it? How would Hearts win it?
Well, we'll start with the unthinkable. That's Hearts coming to Easter Road and winning. We don't want to kind of preview a draw, which obviously could happen, but let's talk about both teams winning. Again, kind of what you were touching on there, Hibs could have a shocker defensively. We're still conceding poor goals. The keeper, although has been very good and made some really good saves, has also made a few clangers as well. And in a derby match, extra nerves there. There's no reason to think that might not happen. So that's a possibility that there's just a goal out of nothing. Hibs notoriously in these derbies gift Hearts goals.
No.
Huh?
Oh, is that so? I had no idea.
No, well, I would say so. That
no, I totally agree. I'll probably have a montage of it somewhere on YouTube.
Yeah. So it's like if that happens, obviously we gift Hearts a 1-0. Hearts can sit in, hit us on the break, use the likes of Kabanga, unsettle the home crowd, and then when we're pushing everyone forward, which we would for a 1-0, can absolutely see a possibility of Hearts picking us off then, because you've got quality in the forward areas, and as we've discussed on the podcast, particularly Kabangu, if he gets the chance, he's probably going to put it away. So I can absolutely see that happening. It's not without the realms of possibility. It's going to be a close game. However, let's talk about what I think is going to happen, and that would be a Hibs win. And I think the way we would do that is absolutely for our forward players. Triantis would need to dominate the midfield. So we'd have to be getting him on the ball. I probably think we will start with Nathan Mariah-Welsh, who's been outstanding as well. He's come in from the cold and he's just breaking things up. He's passing the ball forward as well, not backwards, like the likes of Kwon. And so that gets us in a kind of attacking mindset rather than passing the ball backwards. So he's been outstanding as well. Miller's been really good the last couple of games. I think he probably will start with him. And then we've got Nicky Cadden on the left-hand side, and he can attack, he can defend, he's dangerous any set pieces we get. And he's obviously dangerous in play as well, because he's got a wicked left foot, and he could also put it away as well. And that's not even getting to Boyle, who, he's got derby goals before. He could win penalties. He unsettles defences. He's got really good movement. And I think we probably will start with Bowie as well. I think he'll go Bowie and Boyle. And I think, as we said, Bowie can put himself about. He's quick as well. He's got good speed. He's strong. And again, he could be the derby winner. He could absolutely be the difference. And nothing seems to kind of faze him. It's a bit like Wilson of Hearts, who, by the way, could be your winner as well, because as he showed last night again, he's very cool customer in front of goal. So it's good to see young Scottish players, for Hibs and Hearts. So that's a good thing, because it's been too long. But Bowie has that attitude about him as well, of, I'm just right up for it. I'm brave. I'm going to show for the ball. I'm going to put myself about. So if Hibs are going to win, I'd say it's going to be on those players, and hopefully we keep it up that end.
Away from Bashiri.
Even on this great run, like there's been times, as I said, that we've conceded or nearly conceded from like nothing, where we've just like passed it along our line, and thankfully it's gone wide, or the guys missed it, or there's been a last ditch block. But in saying that, Rocky Bashiri could go up the other end in the 90th minute. And if I could script it, that's what I would have happening. That Rocky Bashiri goes up in like the 90th minute at the Hearts end, in front of the Hearts fans, and the ball comes over, and like he just does something stupid like a volley right into the top bag, and just pandemonium.
Doing it that.
Yeah. Sliding in front of the Hearts fans with the badge like that. That's what dreams are made of. And by the way, sorry, I forgot to mention as well, Josh Campbell as well.
Oh yeah,
I've given the boy a lot of stick. Again, a young Scottish player. I think again this team's looking at him again apparently because of his form. He's a good finisher. When he gets in front of goal, he's always been a really good finisher. He's good in the air. He's only about like 5'10", but he's got a great leap on him, good timing, as he showed against Celtic, and he has over the years popped up with like really nice finishes in front of goal. And again, he'll play just behind our front two of Bowie and Boyle, and those late runs into the box as well. He could be our match winner as well. So that's another threat that we have. And what I would say as well is the bench could win it for us. We've Hoylett, we've Dwight Gale, whose movement's phenomenal. And we probably Obita as well, good player to bring on. So we've 3 players there that could come on. Kukurevich as well, that could come on and, against tired legs, because both teams have had 3 matches in a week, and 3 that are going to be wars. So there's going to be tired legs. So it's going to be tight. It's going to be close. But my prediction is that Hibs will edge it. Like, I'm not going for anything wild, like 4-0 or anything like that. I think we'll edge it with a 1-0 or a 2-1.
1-0 or 2-1 Hibs. Yeah. Well, I'll say I'm going to go big, and again, this is how I think the game will play out. I think Hearts will get it 3-1. And
wow.
The reason for that, I think it will be similar to what Hibs did to Dundee United, where it'll be cagey, it'll be 1-1 for ages or something like that, and then we'll maybe score something late, and you'll have to go for it, and we'll catch you with a third, rather than us, dominating the game as such. So no, I think we'll win. I do. I think we'll win.
That's fair enough.
I've been wrong before. I'm sure we've both been wrong before. Yeah. I do think we'll win. One thing I was going to ask quickly just before we wrap up, then, Robert, to summarise, and I'll give you my answer to this as well. In fact, I'll go first to give you a bit of time to think. The 2 Hearts players that worry you the most for Sunday. Now, I know we don't know the starting lineups for sure yet, but the reason I'm asking is there's 2 that jump out to me a bit more for Hibs, especially with how I think they might link up, or how one might supply the other, and that's Nicky Cadden and it's Kieran Bowie.
Yeah.
I just think if Bowie's getting up to match fitness, he can put himself about in the box with Cadden's delivery, and unfortunately we saw that at Tynecastle. That could work out really nicely. Whether it's on Sunday or in games moving forward. That's one thing I'd like to keep a wee eye on, is just Cadden's delivery and Bowie in the box. So they'd be my 2 Hibs players that I pick up. So your 2 Hearts players, they don't need to link up necessarily, but just the 2 that you the most.
Wilson and Cabangu. Wilson, when he gets a chance in front of goal, he's deadly, and so's Cabangu. And I think if they do get a chance 1-on-1 with the keeper, they're going to score. So those are the guys that are in kind of the red hot form. They'll be full of confidence. I still think Shankland's second guessing himself in front of goal. I still don't think he's 100% fit like he was last season. So I might eat my words here when we come to the Derby review, but he's not someone that I'm particularly worried about. But I would be worried about Wilson, who it looks like he's got good movement as well, to be fair to him, and Cabangu, because I think he's very dangerous. And I think whatever the result, even if Hibs kind of get through, I think both sets of attackers are going to cause problems throughout the game. It's just where the kind of dice falls.
Both teams will score, I would say, and obviously having with you've just said what you've said, Shankland's going to get a hat trick now as well.
Yeah, probably. What about a Boyle hat trick?
Nah, no chance. All right, fair enough. Listen, let's see what happens. Obviously, the one thing I think we can agree on is I can't remember a derby where both teams have been in such good form. There have been bigger games, like your cup games and games maybe a bit closer to the end of the season for Europe and things like that. But I don't think there's ever been a game where both teams have been in such good form.
Yeah,
there's been teams.
I just hope that doesn't cancel, because obviously a draw would be actually a better result for Hibs probably.
Of course, absolutely.
With the way things are in the split coming up, but I just hope it doesn't like turn out that it just cancels each other out, and it's just like both teams don't want to lose, so it's just like a 0-0. I hope that doesn't happen. I hope we have like both teams going for it, and let's just see which attacking team kind of comes out. Because from what I've seen of Hearts and what I've seen of Hibs, they're both for the first time in a long time able to put together kind of patterns of attack and play that's actually quite nice on the eye. You know, it's not just route one or like, you know, goals from set pieces, even though we've got Cadden, he's a huge weapon from set pieces, but you know, we're actually trying to play and create chances from open play. So I'm hoping that happens.
One of my favourite things is actually even just the number of attacking players we've had on the pitch at any one time recently. Shankland, Cabangu, Wilson, Spittle, all on the pitch at the same time, and others. And I know that, as you say, Hibs have been doing that a bit more, which is possibly why you even won against Dundee United rather than it.
Absolutely, yeah. If we make different subs there and bring on our defensive players, we don't win that game.
Oh no.
Draw, we lose it. So that's kind of been the progression of this team. And I think we're gonna go for it on Sunday, and I think we'll just have a bit too much for Hearts.
Well, we'll find out in time. I know we're both buzzing for it, and I agree with you. The one thing, let's hope it's a really good game. Obviously, we both have our results that we want to happen, but as you say, even if it finishes 3-3 or something like that, at least be good. Good to talk after. So right, mate. Listen, we'll I don't know when we'll record the podcast. We'll probably take Monday off, and find a time a bit later than that.
Just for the listeners, Stuart and I usually don't talk at all on Derby Day. We let the dust settle a couple of days, and then we'll kind of talk about it. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah. If we record next week, who knows?
Yeah. But we're both confident of our teams winning, which is great, and confident of a good game. Hopefully, a good advert for Scottish football. It's the biggest derby in Scotland where there's fans from both sides, and as we've seen, when Hearts score, when Hibs score, they're the moments that you kind of go to football for. So that's what we want. I'm gutted, absolutely gutted, that I had to give up my tickets and go. Are you going yourself?
No, well, I'm still on the hunt for a ticket at the minute.
On the hunt.
So obviously it's tougher in the away end.
Yeah.
We'll see what I can do.
Okay, well, bad luck, and I seriously hope that you end up not wanting to come on this podcast next week.
That's fine, because I'll still be out celebrating.
Okay.
Right. Cheers, Rob. See you, mate.
Later.